Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Smashing English. Before we start this video, be sure to subscribe because I make new videos all the time and I don't want you to miss any. So with that said, let's get on with the video. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Laura and I am an English teacher. Every day I teach people English as a second language. So today I'm going to be looking at famous celebrities who have learnt English as a second language. So English is not their native language. Now, I'm not watching these videos to judge or criticize because, oh my goodness, the fact that they can communicate so well in a language that is not their native language is amazing. The reason I'm watching these videos is so that we can learn together. We're going to look at maybe their pronunciation or some of the things that they might not say correctly so that you can learn and we can build together. So let's get started with the first video. Let's start with Cristiano Ronaldo. I know you might have heard of him. He's this tiny little celebrity. He's not very famous. So let's have a look at him and see what his English is like.
Just too busy?
Yeah, kind of. Many trainings, many games. We have to travel a lot. And basically, difficult.
Yeah.
Difficult. You don't have a lot of time.
Great. I mean, really good. Better than my Portuguese, 100%. This is interesting. So straight away, we've got countable, uncountable nouns. So he said he's got no time because he's got many games. That would be correct because we count games. You've got a game on Monday, a game on Wednesday. So when we can count something, we say many. But he also says many trainings. So we don't tend to count trainings. We can count training sessions. So you can say, oh, I have many training sessions. But if it's just training, we would say a lot of training. So he could say something like, I've got a lot of training, many games, all of that.
The timing that I spent here, the people treat me unbelievable. I'm never gonna forget that.
I'm being really, really picky. So the people treat me unbelievable. Great word, but unbelievable would be the adjective. So in this, he wants the adverb. So the people treat me unbelievably. It's so annoying. Every time we've got a verb, we've just got to make it into an adverb. So you could say, people treat me unbelievably. You could just say the people treat me unbelievably, or the people treat me unbelievably well, but he's doing a great job.
I don't have rivals. We have normal relationship. We share this stage there in FIFA 8 years.
Yeah.
No one's did that in the past. It's only us.
Such a tricky tense. So he's saying that him and Messi have shared this sort of rivalry for 8 years. And then he said, no one's did that. So that sharing something for 8 years, no one's did that. But for this, he would want the present perfect tense. So no one has done that. So we have shared this FIFA stage for 8 years. No one has done that because he's still in this career. So it's something that started 8 years ago, but it's carrying on now. So we would use the present perfect tense for that. But that's such a tricky one. Yeah, really tricky. He's got such an aura about him, doesn't he? He's very charismatic. He's just got he's got a very successful presence. I look at him and I know he's successful. Do you know what I mean?
What is he wearing? Well, let me talk. There's so many questions to ask you, but let me talk about your time here with Manchester United then.
Another great thing, I can tell his English is really good because Jonathan Ross has an accent. He kind of talks like this, Jonathan Ross, blah, 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 and he's not asking questions in a simplified way. He's asking them exactly how he asks questions to native speakers, and he understands everything that Jonathan Ross is saying to him. So I think his English comprehension is really good. I bet it is.
Because I remember I had a conversation with him when we play Sporting against Manchester.
This is an interesting example of that debate that there is in the English learning community. People say, is it more important to get the grammar perfectly correct, or is it more important to just be understood? And I would argue it depends how much time you've got. It depends what your priorities are. So he makes a couple of grammatical mistakes, like he is not putting the S on the end when he talks about other people. So I think earlier on about Messi, he said he play for one team, I play for this team.
So it's good. I have a good relationship with him. He play for one club, I play for another club.
Whereas he should have said he plays for one team. And here he just was speaking about the past and he didn't put the ED on the end of play. So he said, we play Sporting, but he should have said we played Sporting. But we understand him. Do you know, like we know what he means. We know what he's saying. We understand him. So does it really matter? Probably not. In this context, no. For him, it doesn't really matter. You know, his job isn't public speaking. His job is football. So this is a good level of English for what he needs to do.
It was the key. So it's unbelievable person. He treat me very good.
See, like that, he treat me very good. So because this is in the past, we would say he treated me. And because treat is a verb, we've got to use the adverb. So we have to say he treated me very well. So anytime you've got a verb, you would say well. So she sings well. He dances well. Same with this one, he treated me well.
What things do you remember then? What things did he help you with? Which things did he teach you about to become a better footballer or a better person?
Well, it teach me in both ways.
That TH is really tricky. So he teach me in both ways. He kind of did it like a T, both ways, but you need to stick that tongue out and say both ways, both ways. And I think a couple of times the way he said basically, he hasn't quite rounded out that A. He said like basically.
Basically.
Instead of basically. But oh my goodness, to be able to be on the television being interviewed by a man who is not making it easy for you and still answering in really comprehensible English. Amazing, really good. And you know what? He's a very good footballer, so why does it matter about his English? Okay, let's move on to the next celebrity. Next, we are going to be looking at the actress Jung Hoong. I've definitely not said that correctly. Jung Hoong. Again, her English is going to be miles better than my Korean because I can't speak Korean, so I am not judging at all. We are just going to use this interview to see what we can learn together. So Jung Hoong was from Squid Game. So if you've seen Squid Game, you'll know who she is. She's incredible. So let's have a listen, shall we?
But especially the games,
Yes.
it was in order. So we can have the sense of where we have to go.
Great phrases. We can have the sense of. Lovely, beautiful. That's like advanced English. We can have the sense of where we need to go. Beautiful.
And while we are shooting, the director thought this line should come from this character, not to this character. Then he moved around, and then we all agree with that.
Just little endings of words, like making sure if she was my student, although she doesn't need me, she's doing very well. If she was my student, I would just say, make sure that if you're in that past simple, make sure that you say, we agreed. I think a lot of the time students know the grammar and they know that I need to be in the past simple here, but just in the flow of speech, it's hard to end those words correctly all the time. So instead of saying agreed, it becomes agree. So if you're speaking in the past simple and you need these D ending words, just make sure I can hear it.
It was just, as an actor, to have those kind of scene is, I think, exciting. Yeah,
That's very exciting.
Yeah, just ends of words, to have those kinds of scenes, because she's talking in the plural, but she said to have those kind of scene without the S. So I think I can tell by her English, it's a great level. She knows this stuff. It's just a habit. It's just about making sure that those endings change.
Maybe it's weird to say it, but while I'm shooting my death scene, I was so happy. I was most comfortable scenes I ever had.
Spoilers if you haven't seen Squid Game, by the way. So she said, while I'm shooting my death scene, I was so happy. So she's used the present continuous while I am shooting, but actually she wants to use the past simple or the past continuous because this is finished. So that use of while means you're going to want the continuous. So while I was shooting my death scene, I was so happy. So if you're talking about something that was in progress in the past and something else happened, ing. So while I was shooting my death scene, I was so happy. Next up, we have a celebrity who is just lovely. This is Jean Dujardin from OSS 117 and The Artist. And he's just great. He's very smooth, he's very charismatic, he's French. I love this guy. I think he's great. So let's have a little listen to how he speaks English.
No, when Michel told me about it, I said, "Are you crazy? It's very difficult to finance this project. And what do you want? What kind of silent movie would you like?" And I saw with him a lot of movies, Sunrise, Murnau, King Vidor, and I scared to make a pantomime. I didn't try to imitate Chaplin or Keaton.
I scared. So nearly. So he says, I scared, but we need something in between there. I was scared, or I am scared if it's now, but he's talking about the past. So I was scared to make a pantomime. Yeah, pantomime is like a over the top, not truthful, not real, bleh, kind of performance.
And I saw Sunrise, for example, or Seediger, and I understood what Michel wanted.
He normally does a very good past tense though. I understood what Michel wanted. I can hear those changes to make it the past simple. Nice.
Who do you play in this movie? Who is George Valentine?
George Valentine is a movie star in 1920s.
We would say in the 1920s. I'm being really picky. But for those decades, we say in the 50s, in the 1970s, in the 1920s. But that's such a tiny detail.
Is a big, naive, seducer, joker, sometimes selfish, sometimes arrogant.
He's got loads of good words, loads of descriptive words to help us understand his character. It's great.
And yes, it was easy. There was a lot of improvisation on set.
Great. So there was a lot of improvisation on set. He's done that correctly. So instead of saying there were many improvisations, incorrect. There was a lot of improvisation. It's the same as information. So there was a lot of information on the internet. There was a lot of improvisation on set. Fabulous. And finally, we're going to look at Gunther Steiner. Now, he was the team principal of the Formula One team Haas. And if you've seen Drive to Survive, you will know that he is hilarious. I love this guy.
Oh boy, here we go.
So we're going to have a little listen to him. He speaks German, Italian, and English. So, it's very impressive. So let's have a little listen and see if we can learn something together.
How was it communicated to you, Gunther? You've...
Gunther, sorry. I called him Gunther with a TH, but it's Gunther, sorry. My pronunciation of these names are probably very incorrect.
Yeah, it was a phone call from Gene Haas to me. I was in Italy on my Christmas break, and he called me up between Christmas and New Year.
So his English is actually very good. It's really good. The only thing I want to draw your attention to is that R, which is really interesting. So he says New Year. He does his R's from here. So he might say something like sorry instead of sorry. So if that's something that you do, if you hear his voice and think, oh, I sound similar to that. If you want to pursue pronunciation, maybe you want to just sound a little bit clearer to native speakers, try to work on that R, because I think that's the main sound that he does that might make him a little bit harder to understand for native speakers. So he's very understandable. He's got a great level of English. But if he was my student, that would be the thing I would suggest to him, just to maybe just bring those R's more forward into the lips rather than the throat, just to help with clarity. But his English is very good.
I would say what is a fair assessment is when you look at the other teams where they are going since the budget cap came in place. A lot of people, a lot of teams, all of the teams invested in the infrastructure.
He's got a great level of English, he really does. He's doing many complex sentence structures, and sometimes there's a little hiccup here and there. But I'd say mostly for him, it's just pronunciation. I think 90% of what he says is crystal clear, but I'd say some of it isn't overly clear just because he uses a lot of sounds that are very foreign to native English speakers. So If he was speaking to someone from the US, maybe, some of those sounds might just be a bit like, oh, I've not heard that sound before. So it really just depends on your priorities. Do you want to be crystal clear so that everybody who hears you understands everything? If so, it's good to just practice your sounds so that the sounds you make are as clear as possible, because the English he's using is fantastic. It's just some of the sounds are a little bit hard to understand sometimes. Honestly, I'm impressed. I really am. I think whenever I've had to speak French in a French lesson, I'm always terrified and I forget every word that I've ever learned and I really struggle. So all these people are being filmed, they're on television, and they are able to speak really good English and get their point across and express themselves. That is fantastic. That is all that matters. As long as you feel confident enough to say what you want to say and you can really express the things that you want to express, fantastic. But yeah, maybe look at some celebrity interviews, find some celebrities who have learnt English as a second language and see if you can spot the little grammar errors. Can you find any grammar mistakes that these people make? Be their teacher almost. And that might be a really good way to identify some of the mistakes that you might make. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, you can do so there. And if you would like an online one-to-one English lesson with me or my partner Bez, the link for that is down below. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Ta-ta!